Hello, everyone. So it's important, again, that you understand that the latest unit is at the top. So today, Friday, May 22, we're starting on the stats unit. So that is pulled towards the top. There's a lot of explaining with the graphing calculator that I have to do, and also some online resources that you can use as an alternative to a graphing calculator. And that's all on this giant block of yellow highlighted things. You should watch all the how-to videos. You don't need to yet, but when we start on descriptive stats, which is actually going to be on Tuesday, since this is Memorial Day weekend, you need to look through these first two videos here with the TI-84 descriptive stats and high frequency data calculations. Look through both of those, and the other two items up here are the online versions of those. Then at the end, when we get to normal probability distribution functions and cumulative distribution functions, you will use those two. That's the last lesson, so you don't need to worry about that till the end, but look through those as we go. They're pretty important. And don't forget, if you need to access stuff from before, you got to pull down towards the bottom. So here's our previous one on graphing trig functions, so on and so forth. Finding equations is towards the bottom, or anything else, then you just have to pull up because it goes in reverse chronological order as you pull down. All right, so today we are going to start our stats unit. And the first thing is the weighted mean, or we'll start with mean calculations and then we'll get to some weighted means. So this little page of notes is pretty important. And you can look at a weighted mean from one of two vantages. So the data element times its frequency, and you're going to do, that's going to be your sum over the sum of frequencies. Or you can consider if there are weights attached to the data elements. Let's say you had a grading system where the test weighed 50%, the homework weighed 20%, so on and so forth. You would do this divided by the sum of the weights used. So we start off in the notes with just a couple of problems that deal with strictly the mean. It's not a weighted mean yet. So we are considering the sum over the count on the first two here. Zoom in a little bit. So what's the sum on the first one? So the sum on the first one is going to be 50 plus 51 plus 52 plus 53 plus x. So you have to do that total sum. That's 206 plus x. The fifth test divided by 5 equals 54. That's what we want. So the question becomes, how do you figure that out? Well, you do 54 times 5, and then you subtract 206, 64. So 206. Do that product and then subtract the 206. So on problem 2, you have to consider two sums over the count. So the average of 6 numbers is 15. So you can assume that the sum there is 15 plus 15 plus 15, add 15 6 times, or 15 times 6. Well, what is that? That's 90. You can assume that. It doesn't mean that they are, but they can be, so you can actually use that in in your figurings of this. And then it says when one number is removed, the average is 10. So that's what we have. So the sum must be 50. So what is the value of the number that was removed? Well, 90 minus 50, it dropped by 40. So these are clever little questions that I see every now and then on just the sum or the mean out there, especially number 1 on standardized tests. I see a lot of, so that's why I included, those 2 in this assignment. And then 3 through 6 are dealing with weighted means. So you have to think about what's the data that you're weighing. So the data that we're weighing here is the weight. Okay, so 5 pounds gets a weight of 50, and 8 pounds gets a weight of 40. Or I should just say, instead of considering a weight, the frequency. So 5 pounds happens 50 times, and 8 pounds happens 40 times over the sum of the frequencies, which is 90. And that, take it to the nearest 10th place. And that gives you 6.3. Same thing on number 4. It is the cars that are being frequency. So 2 cars occur 50 times, and the 3-car ownership happens 25 times over a total of 75. So don't forget, this is the idea that we're dealing with. So you're multiplying by the frequencies or the weights on each of those. So you crunch this through, and this ends up being 2.3 cars. Number 5, a shoe store sells 85 pairs of shoes of size 5. So again, the frequency happens with the sizes. So 5 times 85 plus size 6 times 62 plus size 7 times 21 divided by the sum of the frequencies plus 62 plus 21, and that's 168. And that is an average size of 5.6. It's pretty easy to do all this. Okay, so here we're talking about speeds that get certain weights, I guess is a better way probably to consider this one. So 75 miles per hour is weighted at 6 hours, and then 60 miles per hour is weighted at 9 hours over a sum of 15. And this is exactly 66. So pretty simple material. I'm not going to show the way that you can use one of our stats on this yet, although you can look at that video, and actually it has to be with highly frequency data and stuff here. I think it's just easier by hand, and then to grab try to get into one of our stats with this yet, but that will happen. If you have some other question on this, like what is the median, and that might be a little bit harder to figure out, you can go to one of our stats, or what's the standard deviation, that kind of thing. You can use one of our stats with a frequency list. We'll learn that next week, but for right now, this will work. And there will be 2 questions considering weighted means on your quiz. So we'll get back at it on Tuesday, and have a great Memorial Day weekend.